Hey folks, big time Jimmy Larson here, welcoming you to another edition of At the Movies. This is the start of our Christmas month. For the next 5 weeks, we are going to be tapping into your inner Christmas mode for Christmas classics. And we are starting off with a perfect one for you here on this Black Friday with the 1946 classic, and it is a classic in every sense of the word. It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life is, I found out, distributed by RKO Radio Pictures, which when I heard RKO Radio Pictures, only one thing came to mind. Come on, you know you were thinking that too. An RKO to a radio picture. Anyway, the film begins with a whole bunch of people praying to God to save the life of George Bailey before it's too late. And we basically see these lights up in heaven, as you can see here, and they are talking to each other, and they send for George's guardian angel, Clarence. Not that Clarence. No, but Clarence comes in, and we learn that he's basically new to this job. He hasn't even earned his wings yet. And they start showing him some footage of George as a child rescuing his brother Harry, but in the process, he loses the hearing in his ear. So they show some other stuff to Clarence as well about George, but eventually they get to the present day and they show him George now, and George is now played by James Stewart.
I want a big one!
That's what she said. Who is she, you may ask? Well, she in this film is Mary. And George met Mary as a kid, but now George is seeing Mary again as she was away for a while. And George is very having eyes for Mary, but Mary's also having eyes for George. But George, unlike most people in movies, he asks the right question.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I will say it. How old are you anyway?
18.
Yep, she's legal. Hey, come on, guys. That was funny. See? They agree it was funny. So anyway, so George is now with Mary, and suddenly a romantic plot breaks out.
What is it you want, Mary? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down. Hey, that's a pretty good idea. I'll give you the moon, Mary.
I'll take it.
And you know, Bruce, he actually did just that because of this movie. There's some trivia for you. But then, eventually, the true George shows himself.
This is a very interesting situation.
Please give me my robe.
Man doesn't get in a situation like this every day.
I'd like to have my robe.
Not in Bedford Falls, anyway.
Ouch! Oh!
Gesundheit.
George
This requires
Bailey,
a little thought here.
give me my robe.
I've read about things like this, but I never...
Shame on you. I'm going to tell your mother on you.
Well, my mother's way up in the corner there.
I'll call the police.
They're way downtown. They'd be on my side, too.
Wait, did he just imply that all of the cops in town are perverts? Moving on. So we soon learn that the town is being run by a very rich, cranky old man. No, I'm not going to make that joke. No, it's being run by a man named Mr. Potter. Old Man Potter. Really? No. Not him either, okay? So, Mr. Potter is trying to buy up everything and everyone in the town. Basically, he believes that he's the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and that everybody's got a price. So, Potter, like I said, he's buying up everything and everyone, but the one family that will never sell out to him is the Bailey family. But after George's father, Peter Bailey, dies, Potter basically, because he's a head of the stock, he owns the shares in the company, the building Bailey and the Bailey Building and Loan. He owns a lot of shares in it, and he tries to convince the board members after the death of Peter that, you should just sell the whole company to me. And George is originally agreeing to this, but when he realizes that Potter wants to basically gut the company and shut it down, George, he tells Potter off.
To save $5,000? Just remember this, Mr. Potter, that this rabble you're talking about, they do most of the working and paying and living and dying in this community. Well, is it too much to have them work and pay and live and die in a couple of decent rooms and a bath? Anyway, my father didn't think so. People were human beings to him, but to you, a warped, frustrated old man, they're cattle. Well, in my book, he died a much richer man than you'll ever be.
I'm not interested in your book. I'm talking about the building and loan.
I know very well what you're talking about. You're talking about something you can't get your fingers on, and it's galling you. That's what.
So George gets talked into running the family business by the board members, which their business is basically like a bank, only instead of, just handling money, they basically take money from you. They then invest that money in the other townsfolk to help build them houses, and then they pay back their mortgages with the interest, which then goes to the person who put their money in the first place. So it's kind of complicated. Like I said, it's similar to a bank, but Potter is really mad he couldn't take it over. So instead, Potter goes and takes over the actual bank of the town. And when he does this, the first thing he does is shut down the bank, which causes the whole town to go in panic because now they don't have a way of getting any money. So they all come rushing to George to try and get their money out of the Bailey Building and Loan, but
Need cash payments to the bank. The bank's going to reopen next week.
But, George, I got my money here. Did he guarantee this place?
Well, no, Charlie, I didn't even ask him. We don't need Potter over here.
And I'll take mine now.
No, but you're thinking of this place all wrong, as if I had the money back in a safe. The money's not here. Well, your money's in Joe's house. That's right next to yours. And in the Kennedy house, and Mrs. Maitland's house, and 100 others. You're lending them the money to build, and then they're going to pay it back to you as best they can. Now, what are you going to do?
Wait a minute, just a second here. No, I don't have your money here. It's in Bill's house and Fred's house.
Hey, what the hell you doing with my money in your house, Fred?
And when this plan fails, Potter actually tries to buy off George.
No, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. I don't need 24 hours. I don't have to talk to anybody. I know right now, and the answer's no. Doggone it. You sit around here and you spin your little webs and you think the whole world revolves around you and your money. Well, it doesn't, Mr. Potter. In the whole vast configuration of things, I'd say you were nothing but a scurvy little spider. And that goes for you, too. And it goes for you, too.
Non, attendez un peu. Il est inutile d'attendre 24 heures et je n'ai aucun conseil à demander. C'est tout décidé, je sais ce que j'ai à dire. C'est non, en aucun cas. Vous êtes dans votre fauteuil à tisser toute la journée votre toile.
So we go forward to now George and Mary are married and they have 4 children. Janie, Tommy, Zuzu, and Pete. Now I'm assuming that Pete is named after George's father, Peter, but this is never actually told, and it's kind of weird that they would name their second child that and not the first, but I don't know. We never find out. But we do learn that during World War II, George's younger brother, Harry, was in the war as a fighter pilot, and he rescued a boatload of troops from being killed, and because of this, they honor him with the Medal of Honor, as you can see in the newspaper there. And then, the one employee that's still working really for their company that was there with the father is Peter Bailey's brother, which is George and Harry's uncle, Uncle Billy. And Uncle Billy goes to the bank so that he can deposit the Christmas Eve money. It's Christmas Eve, 1945. The town is preparing to have a hero's welcome for Harry that night, and Uncle Billy has a run-in with Potter.
Well, good morning, Mr. Potter. What's the news? Oh, well, Harry Bailey wins congressional medal. That couldn't be one of the Bailey boys. You just can't keep those Baileys down. Now, can you, Mr. Potter?
How does Slacker George feel about that?
Very jealous, very jealous. He only lost 3 buttons off his vest. Of course, Slacker George would have gotten 2 of these medals if he had gone.
Bad ear.
Yes. After all, Potter, some people like George had to stay at home. Not every heel was in Germany.
And if you wanted proof, by the way, that this bank is owned by Potter, just check out his portrait right there on the wall. I mean, it's crazy. But Uncle Billy, when he had this run-in with Potter, he made a huge mistake.
Couldn't be one of the Bailey boys. You just can't keep those Baileys down. Now, can you, Mr. Potter?
How does Slacker George feel about that?
Very jealous, very jealous. He only lost 3 buttons off his vest. Of course, Slacker George would have gotten 2 of these medals if he had gone.
Bad ear.
Yes. After all, Potter, some people like George had to stay at home. Not every heel was in Germany and Japan.
Good morning, Mr. Bailey.
Good morning, Horace.
I guess you forgot something.
Huh?
You forgot something.
What?
Well, aren't you going to make a deposit?
Oh, sure I am.
Well, then it's usually customary to bring the money with you.
Huh? Oh, shucks.
How about that finger there?
Anyway. Bailey.
Take me back there. Hurry up. Come on, look sharp.
So Potter has basically now stolen $8,000 from the Baileys, and to make matters worse, he contacts the bank examiners and the police, and he puts blame on George as the head shareholder of the Bailey Building and Loan, and basically accuses George of embezzling $8,000, knowing that George can't come up with the money or the receipt of what happened to the money. So, like I said, he's a really evil man, Mr. Potter. He needs to get his comeuppance. But then George, basically now penniless and facing jail time, he starts to go crazy.
Where's that money, you silly, stupid old fool? Where's that money? You realize what this means? It means bankruptcy and scandal and prison. That's what it means. One of us is going to jail. Well, it's not going to be me.
And then George gets in an argument with Zuzu's teacher over Zuzu having a cold, and her husband is not happy. The teacher's husband is not happy that George is basically telling off his wife. And George goes to a bar, and he really starts getting his attitude showing again, and the husband confronts George.
Please go home, Mr. Bailey. This is Christmas Eve.
Bailey? Which Bailey?
This Mr. George Bailey.
So then, George, he ends up, at this point now, he's just done and doesn't know what to do. And so, just like the people at the beginning of the movie, George prays to God.
Dear Father in heaven, I'm not a praying man, but if you're up there and you can hear me, show me the way.
But then after crashing his car into a tree, George finally decides that he's just going to take his own life. And he goes to jump off a bridge, but then Clarence shows up and jumps in the bridge before him to save George by causing George to have his humanity kick in and rescue Clarence. So by trying to kill himself, he actually prevents George from killing himself. But George, he starts hearing these stories and all about angels and heaven and doesn't believe it anymore. And he basically wishes that he was never born.
I said I wish I'd never been born.
Oh, you mustn't say things like that. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. That's an idea. What do you think? Yeah, that'll do it. All right. You've got your wish.
One of the film's more memorable moments, Clarence then teaches George an interesting fact about angels.
My wing. Uh-oh. Somebody's just made it.
Made what?
Every time you hear a bell rings, it means that some angel's just got his wing.
Even after everything that's been going on, George still doesn't believe that Clarence is in fact an angel, especially not his guardian angel. Well, you look like kind of guardian angel, is the line that he says. But he doesn't believe any of this. And he also doesn't believe that Clarence has made his wish come true, that he's never been born, despite the fact that none of his friends seem to recognize him.
Both of you.
Bert! Thank heaven you're here.
Back there.
Bert, what's happened to this house? Where's Mary? Where's my kids?
Watch him, Bert.
Bert, Ernie, what's the matter?
And you know, I would make a joke there, but somebody already beat me to it.
Bert, thank heaven you're here.
Back there.
Bert, what's happened to this house? Where's Mary? Where's my kids?
Watch him, Bert.
Bert, Ernie, what's the matter with you two guys? You were here on my wedding night. You both of you stood out there on the porch and sung to us. Don't you remember?
That's right. Adding that joke to that movie is how Elmo saved Christmas. So noticing that his children are gone and non-existent, his wife is no longer his wife and doesn't know who he is. His friends don't know who he is. He's still thinking, he just thinking that he had some bad liquor or something. But basically, now, you thought George went crazy before, now George really starts to go crazy.
Strange, isn't it? Each man's life touches so many others. Your brother, Harry Bailey, broke through the ice and was drowned at the age of 9.
That's a lie. Harry Bailey went to war. He got the Congressional Medal of Honor. He saved the lives of every man on that transport.
Every man on that transport died. Harry wasn't there.
So Clarence now points out to George that, you know, he really had a wonderful life. And all of this, especially now the death of Harry and everything, and realizing that his life is affecting all these other lives, it's finally enough for George to beg for forgiveness, and he begs God to give him his life back, and his wish is granted.
What the Sam Hill you yelling for, George?
George. Bert, do you know me?
Know you? You kidding? I've been looking all over town trying to find you. I saw your car piled into that tree down there, and I thought maybe you... Hey, your mouth's bleeding. Are you sure you're all right?
What you... My mouth's bleeding, Bert! My mouth's bleeding! Zuzu's pedals! Zuzu... There they are! Bert! What do you know about that? Merry Christmas!
Well, Merry Christmas!
Merry! Merry! Yay! Yay! Hello, Bedford!
So George runs home, and the bank examiner's there with the police because, like I said, Potter turned him in for the embezzlement that wasn't really going on. But George runs in, and he's so excited just to have his life back, as you saw already with him running. He tells them, well, Mr. Bank Examiner, how you doing? And the guy's like, well, Mr. Bailey, we have something for you. He goes, I bet it's a warrant for my arrest. Isn't it wonderful? I'm going to jail. I love that. But yeah, so George is so excited that he doesn't even care that he's going to jail. But then the townsfolk, they run in and give him a bunch of money.
Oh, Mary, look. Everyone gave me money so I won't kill myself.
So basically, yeah, they're paying him back for the fact that he didn't give up on them when the Depression hit and he gave them money out of his own pocket. So now they're paying it back to him. And it's really a heartfelt moment. And then even Harry comes in. And the movie ends with George receiving a copy of Tom Sawyer, clearly from Clarence. As you can see, Clarence, he filled out an inscription inside the book, which basically indicates, hey, George, thanks for the wings. And, the great ending happens.
Hey, look, It's a Wonderful Life is on again, and it's the very best part. Turn it up, Sam.
Christmas present from a very dear friend of mine.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right. That's right.
Attaboy. So that's my review of It's a Wonderful Life. And the only thing... Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I was about to say the only thing that's bad is that Potter never got his comeuppance. He got away with the $8,000. Nothing happened. But, there was a lost ending to this movie. Okay, so that's my final thoughts on It's a Wonderful Life. It really is a great movie. It's classic, like I said, 1946. We're here in 2020, and the movie still holds up to this day. That says so much. I mean, the movie, you've seen a lot of those clips here in this review. The movie has spawned multiple remakes and parodies. There's even a modern version that pretty much was a take on it. There was a lot of changes to it. It was like a modern day version called Mr. Destiny with James Belushi. And I may review that one here on the channel eventually. But that's another good one to check out. Like I said, it's basically like a modern day version. But yeah, so many specials have copied it, from Family Matters. Cheers has done the references. The Simpsons has done the references. Like, obviously couldn't even show everything of what has copied this movie here in this, but it's the originator. It is based off a book, so it's not a complete original story, but it's just so iconic. James Stewart has the iconic voice as George Bailey, and it's just so good. I can't recommend enough that you check out this movie, and it's always on television every year, so you should be able to find it. For now, like I said, we're going to have 5 weeks of Christmas stuff. This was the first. I hope that you watch this instead of running out there with the mad dash of shopping going on, or in your case right now, probably online shopping. But we do have some great stuff coming in the next couple of weeks for Christmas stuff, so I recommend you check that out. If you want to know what movie is going to be next, I will be revealing that tomorrow night on my podcast, the What's Going Down podcast. There's a link in the description below. If you haven't already, make sure that you're subscribed to that channel. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to this channel, as every Friday night we do come out with another It's at the Movies episode. So for now, I'm Big Time Jimmy Larson, and I will see you next week.
I'm sorry, Bundy, I failed you. I was supposed to show you why you should live, but I can't think of one darn reason. I'll never get my wings now. And you know what kind of woman you get in heaven driving around a 78 Pinto? The same kind of woman you get down here driving around a 78 Pinto.